Good afternoon, everyone. 33 trillion 666. Interesting. Libya calling for full oil export embargo to the West. China's going to stop graphite deliveries. Australia refusing cash, now charging a surcharge to use cash. Just as absurd as eating cricket puffs. Perhaps it's a cycle. Tiwanaku initial archaeological dig. And at least someone's having a good day across the planet. This is the way we need to reframe our minds to keep sane. And the magic number was caught by at least a few people posting it up here. Our national debt, United States, 33 trillion 666. I'm surprised this wasn't on Halloween at midnight or something. Debt per citizen, debt per taxpayer. And a few years back, that debt per taxpayer would have been equivalent to a house. But with inflation, we're looking at $400,000 on an average house price, which explains why subprime 60-day delinquency index is now the highest on record. If inflation's hitting everywhere and people are spending more on food, just like in the great financial crisis of 2009 and 8, throw the keys on the table. I got other things to do. I can drive away in my car and still continue to eat. I'll go stay with the relative, but the bank, you can repossess it, and we'll see that again. But this time it's the car, so that's the escape vehicle. You come after people's cars, you're going to have a problem. Are they going to even be able to afford the gasoline to put in the car is the next question, because Libya is now calling on oil export embargoes for all Israeli supporters. So that means a global inflation event if it were to happen. If oil stops and it goes to $150, $200 a barrel, you're looking at $12 to $15 per gallon gasoline, and that will dent everything in the economy. That is an instant depression for the entire planet, because there will be nowhere spared except, the oil producers themselves. But we cut off our oil already. We'll have to take a few months to get those pipelines dusted off. And speaking of energy, all energy agreements between Turkey and Israel have been suspended. So take it down into the microcosm. How is Israel going to continue to get energy supplies is the question. If all the nations around them are supporting embargoes, then how do they get oil into their nation? And they're losing approximately $500 million a day in revenue as this thing continues. Now, another shake your head moment, EU considers price cap extension to avert winter gas crisis. See, the West is only give us your stuff when we need it and we'll sanction you the rest of the time. So this double standard is laughable at best. So now a second pipeline has stopped functionality in Europe. So they're like, wait, we'll let the sanctions off of Russia. Just give us the gas and then we'll put the sanctions back on you. Price cap, it's still good, but we need the gas. And then if they don't give the gas, look at this kind of, what will the news headlines be if they refuse to give the gas? Meanwhile, Fortune warns the S&P is heading below 3,000. Two of the biggest stock market crashes happened in October 1929 and Black Monday 1987. Seasonally, we're entering the best 6-month period for gold and silver. Along with the Fed nearing the end of their rate hikes, gold is poised to skyrocket. Call the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. When you call them, mention the Adapt 2030 channel. They're going to give you some great in-class service. Patriot Gold Group has the no fee for life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold or silver. And the no fee for life IRA is on qualifying rollovers. Give them a call. 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. Because the day before yesterday, I did this U.S. lifts restrictions on Venezuelan oil exports at the same time the embargo talk was coming. So it really is laughable, these whole sanctions on this, sanctions on that. I mean, look, Venezuela, we need your oil now, so we're going to lift the sanctions. But you were bad just last week, and now this week you're good. Oh, by the way, we could lift the sanctions on your gold sales too. Look how the hypocrisy is like neck deep on this. We're going to lift the sanctions so we can fill the gas reserves so Europe can get through the winter. But then as soon as you fill it, oh, the sanctions are back on. And the same with Venezuela. I'm wondering where else we're going to lift sanctions so we can get resources that we need for the Western aligned nations. If you can't see, the walls are closing in on the Western aligned economies. It won't take very long until the oil ceases the current flows around the planet. Now, how does that get made up? Well, Mexico has oil, America has oil, Canada has oil, but because of the current policies, we're not tapping using that. Could it be ramped up again? Yes. Is it going to be a one-day ramp up? Oh, no, not a chance. It's going to take months and months to ramp that back up if they can reach back to the levels it was before everything was cut off. But we're talking a substantial delay period between go to here's your oil. And again, it'll be rationed and restricted. They're not going to just let it flow so you can run around on your jet ski. That'll be for essential. Again, they've already got you used to this essential workers. Remember that whole essential thing? Well, this time it'll be essential transportation. They've already programmed in you essential, essential, essential. Everybody bought it. So they're going to use it again. Essential transportation, essential deliveries. Your car and you moving around is not going to be essential. Understand that you are not essential at all. Everybody is disposable. Once you get that in your head, things might start to change. We'll see. And off CNBC, how oil could spike to 150, even 250 if this escalation continues to break outside the borders, according to Bank of America. Yeah, that would be devastating. $250 a barrel oil. Society stops. Really, you just get the essentials. It would be possible that a lot of farmland would not get planted because there would not be enough distribution and refining into the diesel fuels for those engines. Now, another ridiculous. Aussies charge $55 fee to pay in cash at a Sydney car dealership, but then they backpedaled as people made note that it's a sovereign currency for all debts, public and private. You can't charge a surcharge on cash. This is the madness world we've entered into. But there's a huge amount of banks that are no longer working with cash in Australia. It seems like they're spearheading this cashless society. And speaking of cash, if you're holding anything in fiat in the markets, not financial advice. I'm just looking at all the charts in the red here, especially with the banks, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and Bank of America. And those year-to-date losses are significant. And we see dollar losing value every time they print, i.e. back to the 33,666 chart. And they're clipping along at something like 600 billion per week now into the debt of America. That is insane how quickly this thing is rising. So if you look at that next week, you're going to be above 34 trillion already. Now, FYI out there, self-custody, for those of you who don't understand that term, get your coins off the exchanges. Coinbase is limiting Bitcoin withdrawals. And this comes from Colin Brown. Encountered a new 5K a week withdrawal limit policy. Wait a second. Bitcoin's traded at 35,000 now. It's going to take you 7 weeks to withdraw what is considered one Bitcoin worth of value. That's crazy. And he's been a customer for 10 years. And I can say it, get your coins off your exchange. You need to learn self-custody. This thing is a reset. If you don't self-custody, you're going to lose your coins. And what's interesting when I say this reset, moving over, and is a foe really a foe these days? Because I'm really looking at it a different way. Like everybody's part of the game now because everybody needs the reset. And then suddenly, this comes off RT. Our trade is restructuring. And they're talking about Russia trading with China and all of it's settled in rubles and yuan. So two of the great economies of our planet are now way outside the US dollar sphere of influence, along with Brazil and many others joining that, and the OPEC nations too are outside US dollar trade. So that amount of US dollar trade is shrinking by the minute as well. Now I want to bring China into this because the world's top graphite producer is going to be curbing exports of key battery materials. And whoa, this does not bode well for the EV industry. And if you come through and look at a little bit of analysis, this is Shaw and Partners giving this one here. If Chile nationalizes lithium and Australia can increase supply, and America and Europe can increase their supply, okay, the battery industry can keep going. But if China starts to restrict exports of graphite, the entire battery global supply chain screeches to a halt. Then what does that do for unemployment and then the manufacturers of the EVs? Fast forward a fifth of an eighth of a second. Tit for tat, US hitting the semiconductor markets of China. China smacks back, targeting the EV commodities. I highlighted in blue. Their export restrictions cover high purity synthetic graphite and natural flake graphite for what? EV batteries. It looks like we're screeching to a halt. Right at the same time, we're coming into oil woes. You know, all these things seem to be aligning into madness, along with the cricket puffs. A new item available on the menu. Great. Because I'm wondering how much of this is truly a cycle. You know, we can only go back a certain amount of time, and then we seem to reach the end of known history. Well, this is Tiwanaku in the initial excavations. Thought I'd bring you these photos here because what you see at Tiwanaku in the reconstructed areas don't really do it justice to what you're seeing here in terms of how did all that detritus and earth end up on top. They've excavated all this out now, but we're talking a good 4 feet on top there. So if you look at high Andes mountains with little rainfall, and you know, where's that compaction come from, and what is the deposition layering for you geologists out there? You know, look at the depth of this. Incredibly, one of the driest places on the planet. Now, how long is it going to take to put that much earth on top of and bury that? Like, how many multi-thousands of years will that take for that to happen? Because you're really just looking at that point, atmosphere blowing dust, etc., and then compacting. We're not talking about water erosion any longer. And also, this one is not visible anywhere. Do you see it out at the site? Not a chance. This was the original excavated. Looks slightly different with what is held in the hands currently, but we still see the same basket that hand basket as they call it, could be a reference to DNA. And we see across the planet from Göbekli Tepe and further afield. Are we in a cycle? Which is why during that interim, you're going to need to have food, storable foods. Canning's a way to do it. That's a great view in front of me, sweeping. I feel safe with that in my house. But if you don't have access and you don't know how to can, 3-month emergency food supply, My Patriot Supply, and Adapt 2030. I do thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. All the links for tonight's stories, images, and My Patriot Supply are in the description box below. See you next time. Bye for now.